Okay, now I just want to walk you through how I created this pan part for the FLEXcavator to start with. I knew I wanted this to be symmetrical, so I'm just going to build the whole thing using a rectangle by center, and I'm going to come over the plane that I want to sketch on and click on the lock, and then click at the origin point to drag out the rectangle. Now I'll hit escape to get rid of the sketch tool and click inside the sketch area, or the region I guess it's called, and pull it straight up. If it's coming up symmetrically, you might have this button turned on, so I turn this that way. One of the things that I had to deal with was how to get the commands to show up in over here with the tooltip text on them. Usually they'll show up here. So let's go through that quickly, since it was part of the learning process that I went through building this part. If you hit the application button up here, come down to the solid edge options, then you can go to the helpers page, and command user interface. Instead of use horizontal toolbar, I selected use vertical docking window form. What this does is it just adds a little bit of text to it. So the horizontal toolbar is very sparse. It doesn't have any explanation about things. And it's great for people that already know the software and have been using it for a long time. They know what to do and how to use that. But if you're just trying to learn the software, this vertical docking window form is the thing to do. You've got to find it over on the sidebar. There's going to be this select option, and you just drag it out and pin it. Okay, so the first thing I did was I just used this rectangle by center, dragged it out to some distance. I wasn't even paying attention to what kind of distance I was using. And then I wasn't even paying attention to the size of the rectangle that I created. So this is completely not sized to my application at all. So what I'm going to do is just put a couple of dimensions on here. And let's use this smart dimension, and I'm going to click on from here to this edge and place it here. Now, I know that I don't want this to be 6 inches. I know I want it to be, it's going to be something like 50 inches. I really don't know how much, but I also don't want it to change all to one side because I drew this symmetrically. That's the way I wanted it. But remember that the sketch doesn't hold any sway over the finished part. So the sketch relations I had in the original sketch don't matter at all once I've created feature from it. So I'm going to use this option to change that dimension symmetrically, and that works out. So that's perfect. Okay, now I'm going to use the smart dimension again to go from here to here. And again, I'm not sure what this dimension is going to be, but let's just say it's 40. And again, I don't want it to be symmetric, or I want it to be symmetrical, not all to one side. I'm currently in the smart dimension tool, so I've got to hit escape to get out of smart dimension, and then click on this dimension once. Now I've got to come in and look at this. Okay, these icons are kind of huge, but I can see that this end of the dimension is stationary and this end is going to move. So if I change this dimension to 12 inches, it goes up. Using the tool down here, which is the solution manager, just by clicking the green check, Solid Edge was able to resolve whatever conflict. And I have a feeling that there's a live rule that tries to keep faces that are coincident to major planes, tries to keep those faces coincident. Anyway, so now I realize, okay, I need some draft. And I fumbled around for a little while, and I eventually found the draft tool. So here it is. The draft option gives me some nice icons that allow me to figure out what kind of draft I want. And in this case, I'm just going to say from a plane. Say OK. And for the draft plane that I want to select, I'll click on this. And the draft faces. Okay, so now I can see that I can change the draft angle direction by using these handles on the side. So I'm going to click up here and draft faces, just go around and do this again. Okay, so there's my draft. To get out of this, I'll just press enter. And now I'm going to use create some fillets for the corners of these things. And fillets are going to be under here for round. And one thing, you can select corners through the solid. Okay, so 4 inches on one end. I'm going to do that. Keep this going again, and bring my cursor over that with a wheel and run that up to, say, 9 inches and hit enter. Okay, now I'm still in here, so let's run this down. Now, one thing I don't want to have happen is I don't want to have this sharp corner down here, which means that this bottom radius is going to have to be somewhat smaller, like it is here, than the corners. So I'll hit enter. Now I'm going to go back and make this change. If I hit escape to get out of the round command, I can click on this face and click on the dimension and make this somewhat larger. Make it 6, hit enter, and okay. So now I can change this dimension also if I want to, and I'll just key in 4. Keep going through, and Solid Edge seems to give me results that I can work with. Now, next thing I want to do is shell this out, and this was something I was kind of apprehensive about. So I'll click on the solids here, go to the thin wall, and open faces. It's just like SolidWorks. What face do you want to get rid of? So I just clicked on the top face, and there's a value here of 0.75 rather, and I'm just going to accept that. Now I'm going to later need to come back and make a change to it. Okay, I see what's going on now. Some of the conflicts have been around these dimensions that I've created. Now if I wanted to make this 45 and make sure that it locks into that, I can use the lock command here, but it's not allowing me to do that right now. There we are. Okay, so the red shows it's locked in this direction, 36. So Solid Edge was adjusting the dimensions. So let me get rid of these dimensions, and you can do that by right click and delete it. It's doesn't work exactly like the other software, but that's not a bad thing. So now I'm going to reassign these dimensions as being to these top edges, and again make sure this is symmetrical and make it 48. Now notice that it's updating the shell along with this, which I think is pretty cool. No, let's make this 36 instead, and make another smart dimension that goes from here to here, and make that 50. Again, symmetrical. And there we are. Oh yes, we need to hit escape, lock this dimension, and lock this dimension. All right. Also want to lock this dimension. All right. So now I want to add or change a few things. Let's put a hole that goes right through the center. So I'll sketch a circle on this plane and click at the center, pull this out. I really don't care what sort of dimension we're going to use here. I'll hit escape, click inside, and pull this down through. Now because I pulled the circle through a solid, that gave me a cut. If I had pulled the circle up off of the solid, then it would have given me a boss. It would have added material. So the next thing I wanted to do, and this is a difficulty I had during the first time I did this, was I wanted to take the sketch I used for this cutout, and can find it here. And I wanted to reuse it, but I really couldn't figure out how to do that. Now, if somebody could chime in here to show me how to reuse this sketch, that would be helpful. So what I'm going to do, okay, now this symbol says my sketch plane is locked. I'm going to click this for the center of the circle, and then it snaps there, and that's good. Now I wanted to draw another circle, so I'm going to click here and drag this out. Now, I'm not sure if I really had to do all of that or not. In SolidWorks, I could have reused the original sketch and used the thin feature with material to the outside, but I just pressed escape, click inside the region between these two circles, and pull some material up. Now, I just wanted to create a lip around the hole. That was all I wanted to do, and so that's been done. Now, I'm going to draw a line, and let's see, click on this lock, and I'm getting some feedback here, which is cool. It looks like it's showing me where the sketch plane is intersecting these faces, and so I'm going to draw, oh crap. Let me try that again. I was using click, drag, drawing instead of click, click, drawing. All right, so now I've got my plane locked, and I can lock to the origin like this. So I'll click here, and then here's what I was not getting before. Okay, but now I'm getting it. Okay, the problem here was I wanted to draw an angled line for a rib, but I wasn't sure where the current sketch plane intersected the face. So, I didn't know if I was going to have to draw a short flat on top of the rib, or if I was just going to be able to draw the line anywhere and then make the rib. So here I've drawn the line in space on this sketch plane so that it should be able to create a rib here. Go to solids. Again, it's under thin wall and rib. And I was very pleased to see that Solid Edge was able to a nice rib from that sketch. It has some nice options for centered, left or right material. Okay, but this is essentially what I needed it to do. And the next thing I want to move this over. So I'm going to grab all of this, click on the face, control click on this face, rotate around, and control click on that face. And then I should be able to just grab this arrow and move the entire rib. Now, can I move it onto the fillet? Yeah, it looks like I can if I need to. So I'm just going to put it there and hit enter. There's some sort of conflict going on. Just tell Solid Edge to resolve it and make it happen. So from here, the next thing I want to do is to create a mirror. And this took a little bit of getting used to, I think, for me. You find it under pattern, but it's not active. So what you have to do here, I believe, is select what you want to pattern first. And you could go through and select all the faces, but that's what this rib feature is here for. Okay, so now I select on the rib feature and go up to see pattern. Okay, now this is active. So I'm going to click on mirror, and then it wants me to select. It's asking me to click on a planar face or reference plane about which the copy will be mirrored. So I'm going to notice as soon as I get over this plane, it shows up. Okay, so that's nice. That's nice. And I can do the same thing again, by clicking on rib and control clicking mirror, going to pattern and then mirror, and then positioning so that I can select this plane and the rib is already set up. Now that sort of workflow to me, I think is really nice, but you have to know what it is beforehand. So if you're a newbie trying to learn Solid Edge, this is the kind of thing that could hang you up. But if you're an old timer running Solid Edge, you'd be, there's no messing around with the property manager or anything like that. You just burn through this sort of workflow very quickly. One more thing that I want to show here, I think, is under the lip. That's where it is. I found this actually by accident. I set the selection to chain, and I pick on that edge and say accept, and then you can set in here the size of what you're trying to do. So let's make that 0.25. Here's a little preview. I suppose this could be more obvious. If you're putting it up here, I guess you're adding material. That would also be adding material. What we want is in here. Suppose we're going to be removing material. Okay, so the interface for that wasn't very obvious, but it allows us to create a groove that goes around this whole thing. Now here's the part that I found probably the most surprising in a good way. And let's turn off these sketches so we don't have to look at them. If I click inside here, notice it brings up this 0.75 dimension. This is for the shell command. So if I make this 1.5 inches, Solid Edge actually creates that. Okay? And it changes the thickness, even though this is not a history-based program that remembers the features that I've created. It remembered about that thin wall, and it took all of the faces that were associated with that. And so this was one of the big apprehensions I had about Solid Edge when I first started messing around with it a couple of years ago, about the synchronous technology in specific, was that it wouldn't be able to remember things like this, like the thin wall feature, and it wouldn't be able to allow me to change the thickness of a shell. I don't know. I think that works pretty well, and I'm pretty pleased with how that went.